5 reasons why the World Cup should be taken away from Qatar. To suggest that not everyone supports Qatar hosting the 2022 World Cup would be a significant understatement. It would not come as a major surprise if FIFA moved the event out of the Gulf state due to the heat, Qatar's dubious human rights record, and the potential change from the promised summer tournament to one in the winter. They choose the venue, so to alter their minds and award the competition to another country would be a major U-turn. There are, however, a number of strong arguments in favor of moving the competition from Qatar to a more deserving nation. 5 justifications for moving the 2022 World Cup are provided by Bleacher Report. 1. The heat. When a heat wave strikes a Western nation unaccustomed to such temperatures, a resourceful TV news crew will almost always try to fry an egg on the bonnet of a car or even the sidewalk. If they use that approach in Qatar, they might be able to build a cafe where they sell fried egg sandwiches to passing Britons since, as you are already aware, the heat will be intolerably intense. According to the Daily Mail, the Qatari bid for the competition included a variety of illogical ideas, such as air conditioning for the venues and floating, solar clouds, that would shade the field. These, somewhat predictably, proved to be impossible, so if the tournament is to be held at the customary, promised time of year, it will take place in heat with an average temperature of 105 degrees Fahrenheit, according to Al Jazeera. The consequences of forcing athletes to compete in such circumstances ought to be obvious, but the Australian Open this year serves as a prime example of what could go wrong. On several occasions, play had to be suspended due to temperatures exceeding 105 degrees, and Britain's Jamie Murray required medical attention for heatstroke, according to The Guardian. Contrary to tennis, FIFA does not have a protocol for severe weather for its events. Instead, it only advises players to drink plenty of water. Unfortunately, they didn't also impart the insightful advice that if players wanted to continue running around, they should probably breathe in and out as well. The World Cup has, in fact, been played in sweltering weather before, not least in Mexico and other South American nations. However, because the game has become so much faster and more athletic, this level of heat is plain unsafe. 2. Disruption to the European leagues. The current solution to the heat issue appears to be moving the event to the winter, when temperatures are much more tolerable. Of course, this causes a lot of issues, not the least of which is that the European League's seasons will be cut short by 2 months. Some have claimed, quite properly, that since not all of the countries involved play from August to May, the disruption will only affect a small number of large and powerful teams, and they should therefore stop complaining. However, a sizable chunk of the players will play for clubs in Europe. 13 of the 32 participating countries are from UEFA, making it the confederation with the highest representation at the tournament. Many players from other countries also work there during the regular workday. For instance, 19 of the 23 players in the most recent Argentina squad and 30 of the 49 players called up by Brazil last year play for European teams. Unless there is a violent change in power in the next 8 years, the majority of the players at the 2022 World Cup will represent European teams. And the move to a winter tournament will require them to begin a season, stop in the middle to compete in what will likely be the most significant tournament of their careers, then return home to complete their domestic campaigns. That isn't great, and that's understating it quite a bit. 3. Homophobia. In Qatar, homosexuality is forbidden. The debate over whether such a nation should host the second largest sporting event in the world, after the Olympics, should really come to an end at that point. If the attitude of FIFA's president is any indication, the organization does not take such issues particularly seriously. In a civilized world, those types of views should not be accepted, let alone codified in law. Blatter later clarified, or at least tried to, his remarks, but the fact that he felt the need to do so indicates how he generally feels about things. Without a certain, by 2022, we will have an openly gay international football player chosen to compete in the World Cup. Although there isn't one out gay professional athlete right now, the number of athletes coming out is rising, and it appears probable that at least one will do so within the next 8 years. They'd be welcomed, though? Would they feel confident enough to visit a place where their way of life is so blatantly incompatible? In all likelihood, no. 4. Workers. Since Qatar won the bid to host the 2022 World Cup, 400 Nepalese migrant workers have perished in construction there, according to Jamie Doward in The Observer. Even worse, only 20% of the workforce is Nepalese, who are frequently required to work in appalling conditions. The Guardian article by Jim Murphy, the UK's Shadow Secretary for International Development, stated, No one has to lose their life to bring us this World Cup or any other sporting event. Not a single person lost their life constructing the venues for the London 2012 Olympics. The 2022 World Cup, according to the International TUC, endangers 4,000 lives. Qatar must submit a thorough report to FIFA detailing the entire scope of the issue as well as a genuine plan to fix it. Less won't do at all. There are too many susceptible people exposed as a result of the current system's flaws. In the past 20 years, Qatar has come a very long way, and there have been significant advancements that should not be overlooked. However, it is a plain reality that some of these workers are subject to conditions that come within the International Labour Organization's definition of forced labor, although no one is saying that this is the case for all of them. There is no way to disagree. Although the Qatar 2022 Organizing Committee has released a charter that purports to guarantee the protection of its employees, it is doubtful that things will change significantly, and there is no doubt that damage has already been done. The World Cup will be based on bloodshed. 5. Infrastructure. Given that this nation has no genuine history in football, it should come as no surprise that there is currently no meaningful infrastructure that can support a World Cup-scale tournament. According to ESPN, it will cost around $220 billion, £138 million, to construct the necessary stadiums, hotels, and other infrastructural components. In contrast, it cost $3.5 billion to get South Africa ready for the 2010 competition. Just think for a moment of a better use for that money. It's effectively pointless because it's unlikely that $220 billion will suddenly be spent on grassroots football or donated to charities if Qatar loses the World Cup tomorrow, but it still feels like a terrible waste of money. The true shocker regarding Qatar's current infrastructural situation is as follows. The final will be held in Lusail City, which is not yet a real city. A brand new city must be constructed, 15 kilometers north of Doha, to accommodate the tournament. It would be laughed off as completely absurd if it were in a movie's script. It can be done. Without FIFA's action, nothing will or can occur, but more crucially, they have the power to relocate the World Cup. And Sepp Blatter acknowledged that it might occur. Martin Lipton cited him as stating the following in the Daily Mirror in 2011. "We are tackling the issues one at a time, and if the Solutions Committee should suggest someplace that we need to take a closer look at something, then we will." Zwanziger realized it's too simple to say we should reopen things when I spoke with him. He is aware that everyone must present proof and that he must first present it to FIFA. With the sponsors, I haven't yet heard from any FIFA sponsors who have expressed reservations about changing anything regarding Qatar. Obviously implausible, but still conceivable.